Afternoon Talk on SAFM.
Goodness, I thought I'll put Mike Stainbank in the spotlight and get you to comment. And people are already asking questions already. So there you are, 0891 104 207. Mike Stainbank with me for the next 45 minutes before we get into Radio VUCA. Please continue with that, with the assistance I've asked you. I said, we're calling it Entrepreneur Slot for now, Moneymakers. And whether you like it or not, you tell us. And if you have a better suggestion, then please let me know. And you can do that. Probably the best way, I'll read it off the air, is via email, ashraf@safm.co.za. I'd love to know and I certainly appreciate your input. But for now, Mike Stainbank with me. He's in the spotlight. And Mike, great of you to come in. Thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm curious to find out why.
Why? Well, somebody emailed me, and you know this. We do this. We invite listeners to suggest names, and they should... Yes. You need to speak to Mike Stainbank. I'm going to get Sunny Eliato to read that email if we can find it.
Okay.
I think it's Anthony Pierce. You know the name?
Oh, okay. All
so
right.
blame it on Anthony for taking away from your time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. He suggested you're someone we need to be talking to. Anthony, I hope you are listening because we're going to have great fun talking to you. Let's talk about, first of all, your institute, the Askia Institute. Right. What is that?
The Askia Institute is an institute that's inspired by the life and work of Eskia Mphahlele. When Eskia Mphahlele and I developed a friendship and a business relationship, we got to talking about the possibilities of an institute through which we could articulate his vision of African humanism. And so it is that through my firm, Stainbank and Associates, which manages the Askia Institute, we were able to develop to the stage that it is right now. We're on your all SABC radio stations, 15 radio stations every day, running a series of ours called African Affirmations. And
in a documentary type of form? What?
No, it's in a 5-minute slot. It's on Masichaba's show at 8:30. And so, fortunately, through funding from the National Lotteries Distribution Trust Fund, we're due to start building very soon. We're not quite sure where right now, but our building should be up fairly soon.
All right.
So that's the SK Institute,
And the impact it's had so far?
Well, the impact that it's had so far is tremendous in the sense that if you consider the fact that we're now on 15 radio stations, this African Affirmation started as an insert in newspapers. So it's been going on for the better part of it's almost 7 or 8 years now, and it's tremendous. The feedback that we get from listeners in terms of African Affirmations is tremendous.
And what sort of feedback? Because when we talk of African affirmations, let
me explain what African affirmations is. It's the Eskia Mphahlele wrote. Eskia Mphahlele can write one single sentence and make you think a world of things. And so when it appeared in newspapers, it appeared just like that, and you could have your own thoughts in terms of what his meaning is. And if you speak to two people, they would get different thoughts from what that meant. So what we did is we took for you, what might be a quote we call an African affirmation, because the affirming Africans in Africa has been the lifelong ambition of Eskia Mphahlele through this philosophy of his called African humanism. So now what we do on radio is we take that particular sentence, quotation, if you like, and we expand on it. We give the listener an opportunity to understand the context in which he said it and the time in which he said it. And invariably, the greater challenge is to align that, even if he said it in 1960, you generally find, unfortunately, that it still has relevance today.
Because nothing's changed, or what?
Yes.
Or not enough has changed.
Not enough has changed. Not enough has changed.
Right. We spoke about this the other day on the issue of Africanism and just how African are we, in fact. So I wonder if you have any thoughts on this. 0891 104 207. Mike Stainbank is in the spotlight. So we're talking about just the African aspirations that we have, maybe, but also other aspects of his life. So if you've engaged with Mike, or you want to do so right now, if you've actually worked with him, because we're inviting people to do just that, and you want to say hi, you certainly can do so. And if you've been inspired by the type of work that he's done, that's great. If you're related to him, if you're his friend, and you want to, probably if you are Anthony Pierce as well, if you want to say, hey, hi, instead of just emailing, you can certainly do that indeed. Let's talk then, and the other part, and I'll come back to this issue in a moment because I want to pick up, I'm sure some people may want to comment on it as well. The issue of the Apartheid Museum, I mean, your name is synonymous with that.
Yes. Well, I don't. It's a difficult story to tell because the greater part of South Africa has very little idea or understanding about the Apartheid Museum because South African media covered one aspect of the Apartheid Museum. They, unfortunately, in the best way that I can put it, they never covered the truth, actually. So the general public, if we use the word the Apartheid Museum now, you have the impression that you're talking about a structure at Gold Reef City Casino.
Yes.
You may also have the impression that it originated in the minds of two men called Abraham and Solomon Crock. Now, that's not true.
So which one is not true? That they conceived the idea, or that
Absolutely.
the museum is not the structure, but it's beyond the structure? Or both?
Well, both, actually. It's both, actually, because the part of the story that media doesn't tell is that when Gold Reef City Casino, at that time, the applicant for the license was a company called Akani Igoli. Its chairperson at the time was Rule Khoza. And when Akani Igoli pitched to the gambling board for that license, they told the gambling board that they were going to erect a structure called Freedom Park. And for all intents and purposes, Freedom Park had been the accepted thing.
And that had nothing to do with you?
Had nothing to. I had no idea. I had no interest whatsoever in casino licenses or gambling. It had absolutely nothing to do with me, nor did I have an interest in it. And as things would happen, suddenly I put out a document, a very, very comprehensive document. I registered the trademark, the Apartheid Museum, and I put out an extensive document, and I circulated it to every single government department, every single media house, every single multinational corporation in the Republic of South Africa, and it got to be seen by these two brothers called Abraham and Solomon Crock. You may remember them. They became very famous for skin whitening creams. You do remember that. And so in this period between 1999 and 2001 total, I'm carrying about my business trying to develop the Apartheid Museum. And one morning I opened the Sunday Times and there's Charlotte Bauer singing loud about Abraham and Solomon Crock as visionaries of the Apartheid Museum. And that begins a story that's been in litigation for 10 years.
And ongoing?
Ongoing, of course. It's not quite finished yet. And that's 10 years of litigation and some amazing judgments that reveal that no education can come through books.
Well, I want to talk about those. I'm going to talk about those judgments as well. 0891 1042 07. Mike Stainbank with me. So that email came from Anthony Pierce, who, amongst other things, of course, made reference to the Ski and Patlele Institute, the one you just spoke about. He also said, here is a man whose life has been a tapestry of many colors, from showbiz to television newsreader to author, and most importantly, to have crafted the idea of the Apartheid Museum. And this is his word. It was hijacked by the Crock brothers. Now, I'm not suggesting it's true or not. That's we need to give others an opinion, a chance to sort of counter what you've just said. But he suggested
does
that
say the nicest things, doesn't he?
All right. I want to get to the callers now. If you think he says the nicest things, I wonder what Imbulelo from Bloemfontein has to say. Hi.
Hi, Mike.
Is this Mbulelo Mzimane?
Speaking.
Oh,
I
brother.
wanted to chip in before the controversies because I'm more into pleasantries.
Okay, well,
yes.
you go for it.
And really to say no matter the longevity of the time, I'm in and out, as you know, a great deal.
Yes, yes.
But, I mean, I just wanted to express my own sense of admiration for your tenacity, for your resilience, and for your commitment to
so
something that you and I espouse a great, great deal. The vision
Yes.
and the works and life that we constantly celebrate of Eski and Pashele.
Well,
Does us exceedingly proud. And I continue to keep all of that in my heart of hearts.
Well, you should, because listeners should know that you played an important role in helping me to understand all of that. You know that. So that
don't
part
mind
of
him,
that.
Ashraf. He's full of pleasantries. Like
well, you know what I thought
true.
in Bulelo, I was seriously considering running to the washroom and just leaving the two of you guys to chat, because as you guys talk, I'm pretty sure the listeners will be hugely entertained, because there's some great insights that are coming through.
Well,
anyway,
let me say this, because one of the greatest legacies Mphahlele has left us through Mike's midwifery has been the collection of his essays. Uncle Zeke, and we've barely skirted the surface, actually, because he wrote hundreds of those. He influenced African-American perceptions of South Africa, of Africa, in ways completely unimaginable. I just came back from the African Literature Association in Dallas, Texas, as well. And of course, the buzzword up to today is Eskia Mphahlele, who is a founder of that association, which is now worldwide, alongside, of course, other South African stalwarts, your Dennis Brutus,
yes.
and the younger ones.
Yes.
Then the Khosi Trilers, the Sirutas, and a host of remarkable South Africans. But it has been through Mike and the Eskia Mphahlele Institute that the work and the considerable vision, very centered vision. Call it Ubuntu, call it humanism, call it what you like, but that vision that Mphahlele held as a mirror to us all, and Mike continues to shine.
Oh, nice call. Okay,
Thank
quick
you.
response from you, Mike.
Thank you, Mbulelo. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
Okay, there you are. Nice. Well, that's what we want. You know, we do this when we put somebody in the spotlight, as you now find out, Mike. It's not just about the work you do, but people sort of celebrating your life. And we throw it open, and we have no idea who's going to call, and you just don't know. Some are complimentary, others less so.
Some less so,
But
sure.
so just be geared for that. We'll see
Okay.
about it as we put Mike Stainbank in the spotlight. I'll go back to some of the other issues, but I want to get to Jonas from Randfontein. Hi, Jonas.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good indeed.
I'm fine. I have a quick question for Mr. Mike Stainbank.
Yep.
I've noticed with all the names he's mentioned in the book, like Mr. Richard Moloko, Bongani Biele, Honorable Justice Brian Southwood, how come has he not been sued for defamation of character by either the Kroc brothers or any of these people? If all these things he's mentioned in his books are lies, how come has he not been sued? Isn't this a clear indication that somehow Mr. Stainbank has been robbed of his intellectual property?
Okay. Well,
I'll
okay.
listen over the radio.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay. I mean, is that true that you've not been sued?
Well, it's everything that's contained in my book I've been saying for the last 10 years, and I don't think there's a statute on defamation, so maybe it's still coming, but I've been saying it for 10 years and nobody's come. But as you know, the ultimate defense of defamation is truth, isn't it? And so, and of course the public interest, that too, I guess, is important. But having said that, though, it, in a funny kind of a way, it would be nice.
So bring them on. All right. Let's then. Okay. There's another call I want to take. We haven't chatted to you for a long time, Ashanti, so I could delay your call and say, okay, hi to you now. Hello.
Hi, wonderful. Hello, my brother Mike. I had the awesome pleasure of when I was at the Center for African Renaissance, where we hosted the elder Eskia, but I also had time there in that so-called apartheid museum with Mike, just going through the intricacies of the lies and the twisted tales of who owns what. But one thing that stands always when I talk about Mike, or we comment about Mike's tenacity, as Prof just said, is his loyalty to this African affirmations, you know, and the way how he made it real. And I think that's, for me, was one of the highest points in my life, meeting Mike and meeting our esteemed professor before he passed, but also Mike's vision on how this apartheid museum, had it not been the one we've been shown, would have looked differently, and it probably would have been the cornerstone through which we would have dealt with the racist issues that are now confronting us, because he made it very real, using a very important teaching and a very important ideology that was not going to keep anybody out, you know. So, Mike, I really wanted to say it's Ashanti was speaking to you. Well done. Thank you very much on behalf of all well-thinking and conscious-thinking Africans. But, Mike, also that you have taught us a lesson that do as you say and walk the talk. And I think that's what you epitomize every time, Mike, when you open your mouth, whenever we have to go into dialogue. I really like that.
All right, Ashanti, great chatting with you. Stay on the line. Let's get Mike to respond, because I think he needs to.
How am I going to respond amidst tears and stuff like that? Ashanti, I remember you so well, my sister. It's just, I remember you so well.
Thank you. And when that institute is built, you know who will be there right in your backyard, right?
Yeah. I remember you so well. Love you lots.
All right, there we are. Thanks for that. Thanks for that call, Ashanti from Durban. All right, I'll pick out some of the other SMSs too. Let's just go back then to the Apartheid Museum in terms of where are we at now. So you in fact own what? The intellectual rights to the name.
They've deprived me. They've been able to.
And you don't.
They've been able to. They've been able to do that through the type of justice that we have meted out in South Africa today. They've been able to deprive me of my trademark rights as far as that is concerned. On the two trademarks, the Class 41 and the Class 35, the courts have ruled on that. And
they've ruled what? What did they say?
They've deprived me of my rights. They've had my trademark expunged off the registrar. The parts that people find interesting, and these are feedbacks that I'm getting off the book, is that the first judge who took my trademark off the register, Abe and Solly Croc were his clients when he was an advocate. The lawyer that was representing the Croc brothers in 1988, he was a lawyer at that time. His name was Owen Salmon. He then became an advocate, and he's now an advocate, and he represented the Croc brothers companies, the company that they initiated. He represented them in this matter of the Apartheid Museum. And by the greatest stroke of luck, he fell before the judge that he briefed for his former clients, the Croc brothers. Can you believe that kind of luck?
So where are you at the moment? You lay claim to a trademark that, in fact, is used by somebody else, right?
That appropriated by somebody else.
And you continually
well, right now, the objective that they have before them is an attempt to have me declared a vexatious litigant. This is what they have before the courts right now. And that's as yet to be heard, and that's going to be coming up in about the next 2 months or so. That's going to make an interesting case.
Of course. We probably need to get them in the spotlight as well and get their side of the story, I can tell you now.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Which I'm sure you'll be listening, or maybe you'll be calling in as well, right?
No, I'll tell you what I'll be doing. I'll bring all of the court papers and I'll put them there, and I'll call you. And as they make a point, I'll tell you to look at page 33, clause 5, and you'll say, oh, but that's not true.
Okay, your vision of the Apartheid Museum. What was that?
That's a very nice question. Well, it's not what was that. The Apartheid Museum, Mike Stainbank heading the Apartheid Museum, is in existence. The trademark, been deprived of the trademark, but the Apartheid Museum exists. You can enter www.apartheidmuseum.org.za. You must put the ZA at the end. So we exist, but the focus of the Apartheid Museum now is to try to articulate racism. This is the project that we have going, is toward a cognitive understanding of racism, and and this has been. It was the original vision of the Apartheid Museum as a part of a great many things, because once you get that understanding, then can South Africans move towards a kind of a healing process. This was the intention.
I mean, your plan was your plan always an online site, or you wanted bricks and mortar?
Oh, let me tell you something. There's something that you've never seen that in the media. By the time that they had taken my trademark and had it expunged, and it's a pity we didn't bring it to you, but I'd got approval from the Mangaung municipality to build the Apartheid Museum in Bloemfontein. Yeah, that was the letter. I could show you the letter. It's there. We were about to build it. And they came.
Okay, I was going to ask you whether you're actually going to visit, or whether you've been to visit the one at Gold Reef City, but you just hold that thought for now. I want to pick out a comment, some Facebook comments, if I can read them. Martin May is saying, well, now, see, this is the interesting one, and you can respond. He says, I have visited this fantastic museum many times, and the thing that always shocks me is how many foreigners visit it and how few South Africans, particularly white South Africans. Is this just my perception, or is it true? If it's true, so why do you think this is? What can be done to rectify it? Of course, he's talking about that museum, right?
Yes,
the one in Gold Reef City, which is in fact not your museum.
No, it's got nothing to do with me.
Your thoughts on that? I mean, anything you want to pick out from that?
Well, in the opening paragraph of my book, I talk about the number of people that have come to me who know the true story, and they make the vow. They say, neither me nor my children will ever set foot in that place. So that's Gold Reef. So maybe I'm not tempted. I'm not tempted to say that that's maybe the reason why many South Africans don't go there, and that's a far-fetched idea as far as I'm concerned, because I know many schools go there. Having said that, though, the overseas visitor generally has no understanding, isn't it?
Of course.
They have no understanding of the internal politics of South Africa, so they wouldn't be exposed to that. They come in and the tour operator says, "Oh, I've got to take you to this great place." You understand what I'm saying? And so they get on the bus and they go.
So more importantly, considering your own background and your commitment to the issues around, sort of eradicating racism or bringing those issues of racism to the fore, right?
Yeah.
One is the legal issues, right, which, as you say, is ongoing. But the other, what about goodness, we've had racist South Africa negotiating a settlement with non-racial South Africa, right, and coming to an agreement in terms of 1990 and 1994. Has anybody come to you and said, "Hold it, let's try and"? Between you and the Kroc brothers, and let's just try and sort this out once and for all.
I'm not happy with that. You see, I'm not happy. No, nobody's come. Well, part of the reason why you won't have that is because they've now revealed, and these are their words, that if you encompass all of the fraud and you take all of that and you try to work through it, what they have said in sworn affidavit, that this came with the blessing of the African National Congress. Now, I'm kind of like, how could the African National Congress be involved in fraud on this level? You understand what I'm saying? So they have yet to explain that, and the African National Congress hasn't taken the trouble to ask them about that. So
and you haven't approached the African National Congress?
What business have I approaching the African National Congress? My grievance, if I have an issue with the African National Congress at all, it's the fact of how could you get involved with this, and you know about it, why aren't you saying anything? I've told them, they're not saying anything. I'm not going to say anything. What more must I do with the African National Congress? But if you're coming to the issue of the African National Congress as it affects that, perhaps the way to sort it out might be if we were able as a country to deal with racism. And if I have a challenge at all, that would be the challenge. That's Mike Stainbank's issue with Gold Reef City Casino and the Kroc brothers and stuff is minor in the greater scheme of how black people are being oppressed in this country in terms of the racism. Racism is running rampant, and that's the question. That's the question that needs to be addressed to the African National Congress and the South African government. Mike is small in the landscape of what's happening to black people in this country as far as racism is concerned.
Okay,
and that's the issue that I would like to.
Says we have bigger, and I want to pick up on that one there, and we'll do that in a minute. Mike Stainbank is my guest in the spotlight. We've had a few people commenting. I see Bilal once again commenting today. Appreciate that, and a few others as well. Google Mike Stainbank if you need to find out more about the man and what he believes as well. So I'll take maybe one or two more calls maximum. Often we get people yesterday, certainly with Leo Beale trying to call his latest 1024. It's too late because we stopped talking around 1:45. 0891 104 3:30 now. Let's get the news headlines.
Good afternoon. In the headlines, world-renowned paleoanthropologist Philip Tobias has been described as a fascinating and encyclopedic man. The first extreme cold front for this winter is moving into the central parts of the country, and the Syrian government has blamed the reported deaths of over 70 people in what appears to be the country's latest massacre on what it calls armed terrorists. Details of these and more at 4 o'clock.
Right, that's PM Live happens at 4 o'clock, and I always say there's so much happening around the world. I suppose certainly one of the biggest stories, the one that just mentioned on the news, the passing of a legend in South Africa. But let's get more from Ike Butler.
A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, as well as to Mike. Just to say that I've been to his museum, and before we had the Gold Reef one, and I can attest to what he has been saying. But back to the news. There's still no clarity on the fate of suspended Police Chief General Bheki Cele. And as you heard, we're going to be paying tribute to Professor Philip Tobias. And the President, Jacob Zuma, is to address the ANC Northern Cape Provincial Elective Conference in Uppington. And the ICT Indaba comes to an end today. My colleague Tsepiso Makwetla will be repping that for us. That's all to come between 4 and 6 on PM Live.
Right, this is important as well. Do you want to invest in the stock market but are scared of losing all your money? Well, then invest in Share Plus from Stainbank. For this month only, you can get returns of up to 25%. Your initial investment is guaranteed. There are no fees or commissions. Plus, you can get started from as little as 25,000 rand. Hurry, this offer is available this month only. You SMS your name and Share Plus, or your name and Share Plus to 31645, 31645. Standard Bank, moving forward. Standard Bank is an authorized financial services and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Afternoon Talk on SAFM.
Right, so Mike Stainbank with me. He's done lots of other things besides the Apartheid Museum story, of course. Voiceover artist, presenters. Well, what else have you done? I want to talk about racism, but I just want to just run through that too.
Well, I used to work here. You remember that?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I was looking the other way. What did you do in the media?
I used to present the news. I started off at, I worked at Bob TV, and then from Bob TV I came here and I did a 2-year spell here. The program was called Good Morning South Africa.
Okay, goodness, that's a long time ago.
That's about 2 years ago. I was there for 2 years, and in the media, I produced 1 or 2 productions. Did some work with Spongile Kumalo. Did some concerts. That's my life has been in the arts, actually.
Okay, so what's consuming your time now besides the things you just mentioned? You speak about the book often, right?
Yes, I speak about the book often. Well, I'm working on the second book now, which will eventually be panned out into a movie. I'm absolutely certain about that.
And the movie will be about what? What would it?
Well, it will use this thread. Like I'm saying now, my story is a small story in the greater scheme of the country, right? So it's going to be the thread to show that racism. Well, one of the questions, I remembered the story just now about this young 22-year-old that used the K word, the model or something. I don't know the story. Yes, yeah. But I was surprised listening to radio and listening to radio and reading the news. Yeah. And one of the things that came out all of the time, and I agree with listeners, what was going on in her home? How was she able to use that coming out of her home? But the one question I didn't hear anybody ask, where was she taught, in which school, under which education system? Do you understand?
Why would that matter?
That would matter because South Africa as a country comes out of 400 years of racism. It's 400 years. You don't get rid of that by waving some kind of a magic wand. You have to get people to understand what racism is. So if you would have to say, who was your grade 1 teacher, who was your grade 2 teacher? But then once you get to the teacher, you have to ask the teacher, was racism in the syllabus as a discussion? And then once you ask that question, you end up back at the government and find out the Minister of Education, was racism as a discussion
So
topic?
what's your, and I'll get to Toronto in just a second, so please stick around. I'd love to get your views. What's your thoughts now on the issue of racism? Meaning that are you saying that the fact that we maybe I'm including myself, I don't know, that we speak from a racial prism, understandable considering of the 400 years?
We
or are you
continue
saying that,
to speak
that
from
we
a
should
racism.
drop that language completely? That we should see each other just as the human race has been discussed before? Because I think we're all in this conundrum. We don't know what to do anymore.
Well, I think that we will know what to do if we understand where racism originates. Presently, we suffer this impression that racism was about the fact that your skin was black. It had nothing to do with that. It was about the fact that they wanted to dispossess the land. And so in order to dispossess the land, they had to dehumanize you. And so when you became dehumanized, you thought you might, at some point, you thought you could give them the land, actually, because you weren't quite like they were, if you understand what I'm saying. And so if you understand racism as being dispossession, and I was very surprised, actually. It's the first time I heard that from somebody in government, but I heard President Jacob Zuma describe racism as dispossession, and that surprised the hell out of me. But be that as it may, I'm saying racism is about dispossession, got nothing to do with the color of your skin.
Right, so how do we fix it? I mean, just your quick thoughts.
Well,
okay, I'll tell you what, let me get to Tarong, because I don't want to keep him waiting. Tarong in Mpumalanga. Good afternoon. Let's just get to you. In fact, okay, hi, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, thanks, Ashraf, for a good show, and thanks for having Mike in the show. Mike, I would like to really say that much appreciated for your work. And then clearly it shows that this is not just another work, it's your calling. And then I would also like to encourage you, Mike, to write about all this predicament, which you've been through, including spending money to go to courts, trying to tell nothing else but the whole truth. And then, you're not the only one, Mike. We need the truth, untold stories. Even how you see Ashraf and Mike there. Certain leaders are selectively, or certain heroes are selectively selected, to be glorified. Certain things are omitted in the whole history of this country. Otherwise, we will be misleading the great-grandchildren that are coming, with the correct information. And then, Mike, I would want to really like to advise or encourage or even, ask you not to settle out of court until the truth is known. Because, this is like a David and Goliath scenario. This bullying tactics, bullish or something by those who think that they fought for the struggle alone. There are many people who are not being recognized and their names are not being glorified. I'm happy, Mike, that you're doing the work of a Skiam Pachele and you're promoting that work. And the Skiam Pachele is one of ours. It's one of our own. It's like Shakespeare, Yeah. And the work that you are doing, Mike, it's a great work. And then those who try to suppress you, one day they will be very disappointed.
Okay.
And please don't settle out of court. The truth must be told.
There we are. Thank you. Don't settle out of court. It's an instruction almost.
Yeah, it isn't. And I'm glad that he says that. And when he says that, I must. It's a nice opportunity to say that is the feeling of my family as well. So these 10 years have been a total. It's not easy to litigate against billionaires, and the strategy of billionaires is you wear him down. It's a strategy. You bring in this whole issue about him being a vexatious litigant, and bring in that, and so all of that would come in, and it weighs you down. It depletes your resources. And so I'm glad that the listener raises that point, because it's an excellent opportunity for me to give thanks to my family.
From a right of reply, we need to get the Kroc brothers' point of view. We do that.
No, they don't come. They'll send their lawyers.
We certainly will.
They send lawyers.
It's up to us to. We will certainly up to us to try. Okay. Let's take. I want to get to the issues. Your thoughts on racism. I'll take the last caller, Snat. I hope I've got it right. In Durban. Hi.
Hello.
Yes. How are you?
I'm okay, and how are you?
I'm very good. Right, go for it.
My name is Sneh. Just to congratulate Mike on his book, and I must say that it's a very good work, okay?
Oh, she's gone. That's a pity. Okay, hopefully we'll get her back very quickly. The book, of course, we're talking about is we look at white people and we think, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And then the bottom part.
The true story of two racist white men and the Apartheid Museum. Yeah, that's your story.
Well, that's my story. But the main title, as you might call it, is strange. When you look at that, I didn't come up with those words, by the way.
Who did?
And I might spoil the book for some people, but those are those are, yeah. I don't want to spoil it because it's an interesting part of the book. Those are the words that are taken from a matric student or grade 11 student from some research that was done by some professors at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And those were her words, and she was saying at the particular time in the context of the research that was being done, that as black students, she was of this impression that white people were tender and they were kind and they were this and they were that. And so the shape of my book is by the tragedy that of this child's belief. And I'm wanting to ask, if we saying that apartheid was as bad as it was, how does she get left with those kind of impressions?
Okay, and the answers will come from the book.
The answers are there in the book. Yeah.
Right. Your thoughts very quickly then on the issue of how should we deal with racism in the country now? Because exactly the point you made, there's the sense that we had 1990, this negotiated settlement, and I see you are not affirming at all, almost saying, I sort of guess what you're going to say anyway, and you're not happy. Whatever it was, there was a sense that come 94, when we vote for the first time, it's almost like an atonement. As you vote, God forgives and you just get on with our lives.
It doesn't work like
that. That clearly has not happened. So where are we at now with the issue of, on the one hand, racism? And if you're saying racism is not about color, then we could also probably have black people as well, or just as racism.
No, I said no, racism is not about color.
Right? Not
color.
Yes, I understand.
It's not about color,
right?
yeah.
And at the same time, the fact that issues like affirmative action as a means to redress and be, what are your thoughts on all those things?
Yeah, the black empowerment, black economic empowerment as an issue. I call it black economic enslavement. It's on the back of the book. I don't know if you've seen that, but I don't. It's another discussion on its own. But for me, if I could address myself to the question of racism, I'm saying at the bottom line, educate about racism. If you educate, you then have an understanding and you're able to identify it when you see it. Currently, the debate, was this guy's painting racist or wasn't it racist? That's a debate. Now, if you understand racism, you don't have much difficulty to seeing it in context and being able to identify what it is.
But do you think, therefore, we now in 2012, as a nation, so I'm not looking at one or two groupings of people. Are we more racist than before? Are we less so, or is that a silly question?
There's no less so. We've continued the trend, except for now you can do it and get away with it. In the sense that, how could you possibly suggest that the judge was influenced by his background? God, don't believe that. How dare you believe that? Well, why shouldn't I believe that? The young girl used the K word. What makes that exception? What gives that judge that exception? I had a judge say to me, I should be grateful to Cecil John Rhodes, for goodness sake. Cecil John Rhodes? I should be grateful to Cecil John Rhodes?
All right.
How's that going to happen?
Sneha's back, so we'll get a quick call from you. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, please, to make your point, because we need to move on. Sneha, hi, once again. Hello.
Hi,
Yes.
Mike. Sorry, got cut off. I read the book and I was asking myself, why are you so interested in Zeksimda?
Okay. What a nice question, Sneh. What a nice question. The reason why I put, if you read the book, you would see Zeksimda appears right at the end of the book. And as I was working through the fraud as it was perpetrated by Gold Reef City Casino and all of these other people, there were areas in this fraud that I couldn't quite fit. I knew it, I had the sense of it, but I couldn't just quite prove it. And then by absolute luck, before I'd sent, it's an interesting one. I'd sent the book to the designer. He'd made out the book, and he said, "Mike, we're ready to go." And I go and I pick up this book by Zeksimda. Ashraf, it just closed. It closed that corner and fitted that hole. And I said, "That's how they did it."
Okay.
And it was just so. Snare, I
you
don't know
made
if
reference
that's.
in the
And
book.
I make reference.
Okay.
I use the whole.
Snare, we need to move
Thank
on.
you very much.
My
Snare.
apologies. We just have to.
That's my excitement around Zeksim Da. Thank you.
Okay, there you are. Thank you. Right, we got about 30 seconds to go. Give me a book that you think we must read, besides your book, another one, and maybe a final quote that you can leave us with.
Well, the quote.
I'll give you like 15 seconds.
Yeah,
to do
let
that.
me take the quote out of my. Let me take my book. The quote out of my book,
Okay.
because the quote out of the book is the one that says, "This thing is not about me. This thing is about South Africans." And the quote that I'm looking for is a quote by a guy by the name of George Fredrickson. And if I can find it on page, what you call?
Right, you've got like 5 seconds before we go.
Just give me those 5 seconds. Please, Ashraf. The quote says something like this. The blacks now in power in South Africa cannot, given the resources at their command, adequately compensate blacks for 3.5 centuries of expropriation, exploitation, and deprivation to the extent that would be required to make them truly equal to the whites.
Okay, got that. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to read the book again. Very quick title. We look at white people and we think, oh my God. Mike Stainbank, thanks for allowing us to put you in the spotlight. Tomorrow we got Dina and Klope, so another interesting one. Let's get now to Radio VUCA. 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 Let's get now to Radio VUCA.